Commission. And she needn't be nervous at all, because you're in. And Verity Preston, we would like you, if you would come forward. And if you could come up here. Is that, and take the mic and just bring it down a little bit.
Touch the mic.
You could help her.
You take it and hold it like that, right?
Okay.
Not too close to your mouth.
We need a step
Okay.
stool.
All right, we can see you. So, you've joined, and you've been voted on to the Attleboro Youth Commission, Verity. And tell us why you would like to serve on the Youth Commission for the city.
Just be yourself, you're doing awesome.
What interests you about being on the Youth Commission?
Yeah,
She has a statement? Okay, why don't you read your statement?
I'm really excited to be on the Youth Commission and work to make Attleboro a better place. I'm looking forward to community service activities such as the river cleanup and Spooky Maboo.
Very good.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Would anybody on the council, Councilor Delizio?
So, if memory serves, 2 years ago, we quizzed your older sister about photosynthesis. And we know that you're a little nervous, which, you know, for those who don't know that you're the star of the show at Attleboro Community Theater. So, I have a question about acting. Where's the doll? Just kidding. Verity, you're going to be an awesome addition. Thank you so much for volunteering to come out to the Youth Commission. And, you know, she's been observing a couple meetings for the last, couple years. And Verity's already added some excitement to the Spooky Maboo, which is the free Halloween party, right, that the Youth Commission puts on. Anything you want to say about that? About how excited you are about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's always a really great party, and I want to plan it with Katie.
Nice. Yeah, because Katie's on it too, your older sister. You guys are taking over the world. I love it. But thank you so much, and thanks for coming out.
In severity, before you leave, I understand that you're doing something very special this weekend that you've done the last 2 weekends. What is that? Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon?
Those are the Wait Until Dark shows.
And who's putting it on?
Good.
Poor thing.
Yeah, give the kid a
ACT,
AC
Attleboro Community Theater.
Attleboro Community Theater right here on North Main Street. And I understand that you have a big part to play in that show.
Yeah.
So it's okay. We can tell everybody who's watching this on TV that they ought to think about coming.
She steals the show, if I may interrupt. She steals the show.
Councilor Cooper.
Thank you. So thank you for coming. And, your sister was a rock star a couple years ago and had the answer. And Jay and I were in the back room trying to figure out what are we going to ask, and I was not prepared for the 5th grade curriculum question tonight, so you're spared that. But I do, and I know that you're more talkative than you are here standing before the council, because I read what your mother posts and the wonderful things that you say to your mother and father, so I see that frequently. So I know that you're more talkative than you are here today, and I see you at the bus. I would see you at the bus stop from time to time when I would go that way, and standing either out there with your dad. Usually, I would see you guys making the trek back and forth. Or was that you going to the bus stop? Was it both? Probably both of you. And I see the chatter happening as you're walking from the house to the bus stop. So I appreciate that you're nervous tonight, and I think that you'll be a great addition, and thank you for stepping up to do this, because it takes a village to run the city, and the Youth Commission is part of that, so thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to share anything in the council? Verity, thank you very much, and enjoy being on the Youth Commission, and I'm going to see you, I think, Saturday night. So I look forward to that. Bye-bye.
Good job, kiddo.
Thank you.
Thank you. see her from here up. From my angle, I can really see her live. Bye, congratulations.
What I would like to do before I make a motion next is I would like to introduce Andrew Wayland, who is seeking to be on the Council on Substance Abuse Prevention. And I have to tell you, Andrew, I really enjoyed the letter that you wrote on why you wanted to be on substance abuse.
Thank you.
So if you could share some of your reasons, I appreciate
Sure,
it.
yeah. I've been a pharmacist for 13 years, mostly in the retail setting. So substance abuse is something that we see a lot of, both from the patient's point of view, the families, the friends, even the providers. You see it from all points of view and get to see different areas of it. Recently, I took over as director of pharmacy at Fuller, and we put on a symposium for substance abuse in children was the main topic that day. And there's a lot of members of the community that actually got up, talked, spoke about their stories. Some of them were tragic, some of them not so tragic, but still worrisome. And just seeing the community get involved was something that was interesting to me. Some of the things that other people were talking about too is like radical ways to fix the problem that we have. So that kind of got me stirring in my seat, hearing what they had to say, ban all opiates, ban this, ban that. You know, drugs that are a problem, but when used appropriately, they're beneficial to people with cancer, chronic pain, can be good drugs. So just to me, it was making me want to get up and say something more and kind of stick up for the drugs themselves, but also think about solutions to the problem that we have and trying to find an all-around solution to the problem. And while in that symposium, I learned about the Substance Abuse Committee, kind of spoke to some of the people that were on the committee themselves as well, and just really inspired me to get involved, really. I just wanted to do a little bit more for the community that I live in, so that's why I'm here. Hopefully there's no photosynthesis question.
Keep your ears on a bit.
Yes, Councilor Blair.
Thank you very much for volunteering. Somebody of your character and your expertise, I'm sure it's going to be a great, great asset to that committee.
Thank you. I know there's a couple other pharmacists there,
Because,
so.
as you said, there's all kinds of, ban this, ban that. It's not all bad.
Right.
I went through cancer myself with some of the drugs. They shouldn't be out on the street, but thank God they had them.
Right. In the
So-
right situation, they're beneficial. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I wanted to bring to the table is the education piece.
Well, you will definitely be an asset to that committee. I'm glad you volunteered, and I thank you for that.
Anybody else that would like to add anything? Well, we thank you very much, and you can remain up here. So, with that said, I would like to make a motion from the docket of October 1st, 2019. Entertain a motion to confirm the appointment of Andrew Wayland, 39 Emerald Lane, fill an unexpired term of the Council on Substance Abuse Prevention, term to expire February 2020.
Second.
Second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? And we will go to the entire council next week.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that concludes the business of the Personnel and Human Services Committee for tonight. I call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And none opposed? So that concludes our business. We'll have the Personnel Committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
So I'd like to open the Capital Improvement City Development Committee open at 7:10. Sitting on this committee is Vice Chair Councilor Dolan and Councilor Waterman. I have no business to bring before you tonight, but I have a report, and I think I have a challenge that we are going to need to face in the future. And I have a guest that is going to embellish a lot of what it is that I have to say. In the last week, I spoke with Patty Arquise, who presented us with a petition last Tuesday night about Green Drive telephone pole. I also received secondary communication from Steve Johnson, who is the Consigli Senior Project Manager. He's the general contractor. I personally spoke with Ann Malley, who is the Community and Customer Manager for National Grid, and spoke with the mayor, spoke with the president of the council, spoke with Jack Jacoby, who is the vice chair of the School Building Commission and the Municipal Building Commission. And I appeared in front of the Building Commission last Thursday night to ask their opinions on the situation, because they're deeply involved in the construction of projects throughout the city. And the underlying concern with the petition was that the neighborhood feels underinformed. So I backed up and went through the process that we use in the city for pole location and pole relocation, and I found the Attleboro City Charter Ordinance, it's section 9-28, pole locations, and in that section it refers to Massachusetts General Law, chapter 166, section 22, which I pulled, and it says that, as you might expect, we're supposed to have a public hearing when there's a new pole or a relocated pole, and there should be written notice, and we did all this. So there was an ad in the paper on August 23rd notifying that the pole was going to be relocated. We did have a public hearing. No one showed up at the public hearing. And looking at other things that surround this issue, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 166, Section 122 says that the city clerk is supposed to mail out at least 7 days prior to the abutter of the location of the pole, that the pole is going to be relocated. And I looked into what other cities and towns do for pole relocations, and I spoke with Assessor Julie Hobson, because some of the implications of what might come as a result of this petition might have an impact on her department. So some cities notify abutters in a 300-foot radius of the relocated pole or new pole to be placed. In this case, that wouldn't have helped the petitioner and a lot of the people who signed the petition, because, as you can see, the petitioner lives outside of a 300-foot range of where the pole is located, which is way over here. So even if there was a 300-foot abutters list, and I pulled the 300-foot abutters list, she's not on it. So in appearing in front of the Municipal Building Commission, I asked them what their thinking was and what thoughts they had, and they had three thoughts. Number one was that perhaps a notification process for poll positions should be put in place by the municipal council. Secondly, perhaps in addition to a notice in the newspaper, the AACS might be able to do a scrolling information on new polls. And number three, that in dire cases where there seems to be a big impact, maybe a reverse 911 call may be in order for that little neighborhood, if that can be done. I went on the city website, and I noticed across the top of the city webpage there's alerts for things that are going on in the city, like hydrant flushing or road closures or repaving. And there is a mechanism in there to be notified, any citizen in the city to be notified of activities. And that is done by Gail Clark, who I spoke to. And she told me initially that she thought she had 25 people that had signed up to get notices on the high school, but in fact she has 56, which is far less than I ever would have expected. So I've asked Jack Jacoby to come and speak to this issue tonight, because I think we would like to hear his opinion about the level of notification to the neighborhood with such a massive construction project, and to give him an opportunity to address the committee, and for you to have an opportunity to ask him questions, so that we can move forward. What I hope to happen as a result of this discussion is that we will propose to the council a revised procedure for poll locations, new poll locations, revised poll locations in the city in a manner that will not harm the administration financially or on a time commitment. And that means a lot of moving parts have to go together at the same time. So with that, Jack, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone.
Jack.
Maybe if I can just start with a couple of factual things. One is that the reason this ugly pole really isn't a nice-looking telephone pole anywhere, but a really ugly pole was installed here, is that there's a wooden pole on the high school side that is right smack dab in the middle of the new driveway, the entrance driveway in the front of the school. And so National Grid charged us to move that pole about 20 feet or 30 feet to the west. And that's what we knew about. As it turns out, they also petitioned you to put a second pole inside the Green Drive neighborhood in the public way, but still there close to the side of the road, because the span from the new pole on the high school side to the first pole inside the neighborhood was too long for their wires. So that's why they put this interim pole up, which is not something we knew about, and why I told people, and I saw your comment, Councilor Jackson, that so it wasn't part of the project directly, it was an indirect part of the project, but it wasn't something we knew about. National Grid does what they want when they want to do it. They don't tell us. So they show up to work when they want to, and they don't tell the project what's going to happen. So that's the story of the pole. Why they chose a metal pole, there must be some engineering reason. I don't know what it is. You'd have to ask them. Why they chose such a big, massive pole, again, might be an engineering question. So in terms of notifying people through the project notifications, we can't, because National Grid doesn't tell us. We know that they're working when they're there. So that's their story. I was surprised when this whole thing occurred, because I thought there was some sort of a notification process when this council held the public hearing, similar to when you have a zoning board matter or a conservation commission matter, neighbors within 300 feet get notified. And I was surprised when I spoke to Virginia to find out that that was not the case. It also made sense why every public hearing I've ever seen, no one shows up except Matt Eustace from National Grid, who's saying we need a pole here. So it's not a lot of people spend their time reading the legal ads in the Sun Chronicle. And even if they did, they might not understand what the pole was. So I think it would be in order for this council to put a burden on either National Grid or Verizon or whoever's proposing the pole, that they have some notification radius. They can pull an abutters list from the assessor's office, it costs $20, and they can send out the notice, and they can bring you the green cards at the hearing, the same way I have to do when we appear before the Conservation Commission for something. We have to get the abutters list, we have to do the certified mailing, so that when the zoning board or the planning board does it, Gary's office does it, but Nick doesn't do that. That's the way the conservation is. And so I think putting the burden on the applicant for the poll to get the abutters list and to send out the certified mail and bring you the cards at that hearing to show that people, were notified is a good thing. Because if a poll showed up in front of my house, I would be concerned, especially if I thought that I didn't know about it. And quite frankly, especially if it looked as massive as this one does. So I understand those people in that neighborhood, and I sympathize with it. So when I said it's not part of the project, it's not part of the project, but it was caused by the project. So that's the case. With regard to notification of neighbors, we sent out notices on 2 occasions to well over 100, I think it may have been 200 people, that were in the immediate area of the high school, and we held some informational sessions. And we asked everybody there to give us their email address so we could send them the weekly updates that we get. And 56 people have signed up. I agree, that's disappointing. I wish that more had. Consigli gives Gail Clark every Monday a weekly look ahead, and she emails that out to everybody on the list so they know what's going to happen. We also were lucky enough to have Mike Tyler give us one of those mobile signs that you can change the wording on, that we say, you know, election coming up and those sorts of things. And so we've had that out there right in front of the high school, especially because we wanted people to know when their road was going to be dug up or when the water would be turned off, which was really especially important. So we did what we could to notify people. There is the city website alert system. I don't know how many people have signed up for that. But it also struck me that there are other projects that go on in the city. Water lines on Reed Street are, if they haven't started, they're starting soon. And there are other projects that we do, whether it's the MBC or whether it's you know, the water or sewer department. And I don't know what procedure we have to notify people that we're going to be working out in their street and the road's going to be closed. So there are thoughts that this whole process has raised, and I think they're good thoughts for you to make some policy on. You know, we ought to let people know as much as we can. It's more than common courtesy.
Thank you, Jack. Mark?
Thank you. So in addition to everything you did, we had a conversation, and I did send today a request for the city solicitor to review what actually is required for notification for pole removals. Rick quoted what's currently in the charter or the ordinance. I don't remember what you said. So we'll get that from her, but in the meantime, I feel like any of the new ones, they should follow the process that's in place today, which is this process that you just described. You go over there, you get the application, you fill it out. 3 days later, the assessor's office calls you back, says, come get your labels. You come get your labels. I'm sure you do. Make copies of the labels, stick them on the envelopes, fill out the cards, send them out, and bring the green cards back at the time of the public hearing. Get them to us for the record. I think that in the meantime, if we were to get anything, that's the process that we need to follow until we get a definitive answer from the city solicitor on what is required. Because at a minimum, some sort of notification within 300 feet, like we would do for any other public hearing, should be provided to the abutters within 300 feet. And the only mechanism we have to do that today is as you just described. So thank you for bringing that up, and I think that's sort of the interim step until we hear from the solicitor.
So Mark, if I could just clarify one point, and that is that Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 166, Section 22 mandates that the city clerk notify abutters by mail, not certified, by mail, at least 7 days prior to the public hearing. So that's already in the law, but it doesn't say how many abutters, it just says the abutter.
That's the
Right.
problem that
Right.
we both read in what we read, and I want clarity from her to us exactly what is required so that we're following the law around notification for people that may be affected, not for just this project, but any other project for public hearings that come before the municipal council, because as we've all heard, the other public hearing bodies in the city get that green, everybody comes with the green cards to those initial public hearings.
In my opinion, there'd be nothing that would stop you from exceeding the requirements of the general law to give more notice than would otherwise be required.
Right, but again, I think we have to start with what is required and then make a determination of what are we going to do. For maybe for the high school project, we say, yes, we want 300, but we're gonna do 500, we're gonna do this particular radius. You know, we can manipulate that after we get, what do we have to do?
Sure. And two other points, if I can make them. One is that President Cooper asked me, and so I have asked the contractor and the engineers to look at whether, as part of the project, we can extend the sidewalk. That neighborhood at Green Drive, there are no sidewalks. And they have the area in front so that there's a separate in and out, which was required by the planning board, I'm sure, as that neighborhood was laid out. But they've asked us to look at whether there and at Burnt Drive we can bring the sidewalk around, not too far into the neighborhood, but just bring it around so that you have at least a safe place to stand on the corner. And if we can do it, if it's physically able to be done and it's not a whole lot of money, we don't have to go get a stormwater permit from the Conservation Commission. I think we would like to propose that, but I'll find out more at our meeting tomorrow morning. And if it's appropriate, we'll bring it to the regular meeting on Wednesday night, if not, maybe a month from now.
Yeah, Jack, I think that's a good idea on Mechanic Street where they've put in the new housing unit at the old Watson factory. The city took the land across the street and put in a brand new cement sidewalk. It's gorgeous. And you know, that should be done for all schools. And I think we had a program at one time where we were improving all the sidewalks around all the schools for a certain radius. So certainly this would fall into that same program, and that should just be automatic. But it's outside the scope of the notification and the telephone pole, so I'm glad you're working on it, but it's really not the subject at hand. Councilor Perico.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Jack, thanks for coming in. The only other suggestion, those would have to be ADA compliant if they're coming around the way, so hopefully that's not another hoop that you would have to jump through to be able to access those corners on the sidewalks.
I couldn't hear you say
I'm sorry.
have to apply.
Excuse me. So I would have to say that they would have to be ADA compliant if we're going to
Yes, you
implement
have to
those,
have
so
the-
that
you have to have the ramp,
the-
the wheelchair can get up and down, and yes, you have to follow the law if you create a new sidewalk. So we would look at that.
And you're still off the subject. Councilor Cooper?
So I'm going to be off the subject, but only to reinforce what you said, Rick, in that it would be nice to have contiguous sidewalk on both sides of the street in front of the high school, which will be not only a new traffic pattern, but a new building with egress in different areas. The other place to look for funding for this is, you know, when we grant waivers for new subdivisions, we have a sidewalk fund. I can't think of a more perfect expenditure of those sidewalk funds to get contiguous sidewalks on both sides of the street in front of the new high school.
I believe the plans call for that on both sides of the street, all the way up and down Rathbun Willow.
They're there, but the sidewalk is there, but it's not improved, right? There's granite curb all the way down.
Yeah.
But it's not, the sidewalk, the 5 feet, 7 feet, whatever, isn't improved at all. It's overgrown, it's shrubbery, it's whatever it is. But in that section between those two streets only, everywhere else it pretty much connects.
I will check with Steve Johnson
That
tomorrow
would be great.
morning, because he went out and took a look and told me he thought there were sidewalks on the full length of both sides of the street. So I'll
There-
look there myself tomorrow
there-
as well.
So very technically, there is, but you can't walk on them on the Green Drive side,
But then we ought
unless
to,
you're walking in grass.
we ought to improve them.
Right, agreed.
So, gentlemen, if we could get back on subject. When I met with the city assessor, Julie Hobson, it occurred to me that if the council were to create an ordinance whereby a butters list were required for every poll location and every poll relocation, it would increase the number of butter list requests to the assessing department. So I looked at how the assessing department generates those abutters lists and how much time is involved in that, and quickly came to the conclusion that by flipping a switch, they could improve the website for the assessors to allow the public to be able to generate their own assessors lists, which would speed everything up So National Grid could go onto the city website, into the assessor's website, generate their own abutters list, submit it to the assessor for certification, then generate the mailing list, do the mailing, and make it a shorter lead time, so that they would be sure to be notifying them 7 days before the public hearing. The second thing was that we seem to have an inequity in our charges for people who require a public hearing, that we charge a very small fee, and we are charged by the newspaper a very large fee for placing the ad. So we're gonna have to change that as well when if we proceed down the road on this notification system, that the fee is gonna have to be higher to the city to place the ad in the newspaper, which is going to have to stay regardless. So I'd like to see that fixed. I'd like to give the assessor enough time, if we decide to create another ordinance, enough time to be able to drain the swamp. She's getting bit by alligators, and get that abutters capability up onto the internet for the public. So I'm thinking, before January 1st, at the minimum, before an ordinance becomes enacted, and I think she's comfortable with that, and I will speak to her again. But we should be focused on whether or not those neighborhoods have the opportunity to be informed, not only of the telephone poles, but of everything else, like whatever's gonna happen there, which is, Patty made the point that even the city wasn't notified that the howitzers were going off. That I don't know that we can predict every time some big noise is gonna take place at the construction of the high school, but, when there's significant activity, we can certainly tell them, because Consigli will tell Gail, and Gail will tell the other.
So when we start digging the holes in the ground, and we start, compacting the soil when we put it back, the neighbors need to know about that. When we start erecting the steel, I'm sure there's gonna be noise. So the neighbors need to know about that, and that's why we try to give them a weekly look ahead, because if you give them too much of a look ahead, they're gonna forget. But if you check your email on Monday morning and you see that, digging is starting on Wednesday, that gives you some notice. Just one other quick point. Patty sent an email with some videos to this council.
That too is off the subject. Has nothing to do with a telephone pole or notification.
But those were National Grid subcontractors, not part of our job. And why they were in her neighborhood or what they were doing, I don't know. But they were somebody we have no control over. So just so you know that.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions? Yes, Councilor.
Just Councilor Conti, I have the intent to reach out to Gail Clark to have my email added to the list. Would it be better to go through you to have all of us added to the list?
Councilor,
or how
I
would you
tried
like
to
us
do that myself, and I got kicked off the site. So I am not the one to head that up.
Where it is the subject matter in your committee, I would hope that maybe we could just send her an email with all of our addresses and we could send it off, or she could get 11 of them from each one of us.
I will email Gail and ask her to add the entire council. Is that really what you want?
That is exactly what I'd like. Thank you.
Yes, I was just gonna say that if you send it to capital improvements at cityofattleboro.us or whatever the address is, Gail will add your names to the list so you can get that look ahead.
Anything else, Councilor Cooper?
Is the only means of contact, as you understand it, via email, or is it text? Like I knew there was a water main break today on Dennis Street, because I got a text.
Yeah, I would love to see that day come, and I don't want to get off the subject too far, but.
We're still talking about notification.
Yep, we are. We're talking about notification, adequate notification in neighborhoods. And I would love to see a way where I could go into an app, maybe even with my phone, and type in my street address and be alerted to everything that's going in zoning board, conservation commission, planning board, municipal council, you name it, so that they would just pop up and show me what's being discussed. Then I could take action. We don't have that, even though the minutes of the zoning board, the minutes of the planning board, the minutes of the council, the minutes of the building commission, school building commission, they're all digital. They're all stored in one general location, one general server, but there doesn't seem to be a way to be able to search and pull that together, particularly in this kind of an app. So that is something that the Technology Commission 10 years ago was talking about. And you see how far that got. We did get see, click, fix, which is good. But I'd be happy just to get emails, let alone text. Text would be awful, I mean, awfully wonderful. But if I could just get to the email, because most people have email, I'd be really happy.
Agreed, thank you.
Anything else?
I just want to commend you on all the research and work you did this week. Thank you.
Welcome.
So I don't have a question for Jack, but I do have a comment. I don't know if, are we letting Jack go?
It's the only time we can talk, so Council, you gotta.
Well, I didn't know, I didn't want to hold him hostage if he wanted to sit down.
If you wanna sit, Jack, you can.
But
If you
I'm-
wanna participate,
I
you
can
can.
stand for another 2 minutes.
It probably won't even be 2 minutes. You know, when we talk about notifications and the polls and everything, you know, you just held up that picture of the neighborhood. Maybe it would be helpful if we knew, instead of it's, we're gonna move it 60 feet northwest of, you know, whatever, and we're all like, okay. So if we knew the material of the pole and exactly where it's going to be, you know, maybe that would be helpful in us making a decision when we have National Grid come before us.
When National Grid filed the petition, Counselor, there was a map that showed exactly where on
See, I
Green
looked for
Drive
that. I didn't
that pole
see
was
the
gonna
map.
be located. Yeah, I didn't see this map either. But it shows that this is Green Drive, this is Rathburn Willard, and there's the pole right there, and that's exactly where they put it.
Because, well, I mean, didn't she discuss something that it was in her line of sight?
She mentioned that verbally. I've been there, I know Council Waterman's been there, and I did not have the same indication that it was disruptive of a line of sight in a traffic, in a motor vehicle. I would concur with the neighborhood that it's out of character to the neighborhood. And I don't believe that the pole is any taller than any other telephone pole, but its glaring silver color certainly does not fit a natural environment that surrounds it. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, and
But if it
you've
has to,
been
it has
there-
to, because I don't want it to fall down.
Right, but if you've been there, there's a lot of ledge behind it, and then there's some extensive plantings that hide the house that's behind it, and I understand why that homeowner has all that there. But it is kind of jarring, but, you know, if you look, you could see there's a fire hydrant further up the hill, so you could see the extent of the public way, and this pole is definitely in the public way. It's just that for whatever reason, the planning board did not require sidewalks on either side of the road at the time that neighborhood was put in, and that's probably lost in the fog of history as to why that was done or not done.
So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna draft an ordinance for a 300-foot abutters notification and proper compensation to the city for the newspaper advertising, and incorporate the language that's in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 166, Section 22, so there's a 6-day notice. I mean, maybe I'll wait a couple of weeks until the city solicitor has an opportunity to comment, so that we don't have to duplicate the effort all over again, and everything can go together. I also want to give Julie Hobson an opportunity to work with the Board of Assessors to make that beautiful mapping program public, so that the public can generate their own abutters list. Yep.
But you said that 300 feet wouldn't even apply to this lady that,
We can make it anything we want. You know, for a fence, you only need 100 feet. We can put in the ordinance 500 feet. We can put in the ordinance anywhere from 100 to 500, depending on the circumstances. You know, so we can set upon an application through the committee, the distance that we think is appropriate for notification on a case-by-case basis. Councilor Cooper?
Yeah, I think your plan is a good one. I would just say, just before you introduce the new business, you might want to save yourself some steps and talk to Cindy in the meantime, and she can guide in what to put forward, so we're not doing it after the fact, after she's already reviewed it. We just sent that email to her today, so she's aware of the request that
I'll
we've
do
made
that.
now.
Do that through you so that you can.
Yeah, just CC me on it and I'll reply.
Councilor Blair.
You might want to look into this. I know Kate probably had the same problem I had when I was in Public Works. It's tough to get National Grid to do something for a homeowner, or, you know, they tend to do it when they want to. It's a tough outfit to do business with. If you make this too cumbersome for them, it's gonna hold it off that much longer for the people that we're serving to get service. I'm sure Kate has found that in over the last 4 years, that dealing with them is, a lot of politics goes involved in it.
Takes an active converse.
Right, it's a lot of please and thank you. If you people remember on the council, any of you who were here, when we had the double poles all over the city, that was solved, not at this semicircle,
Yeah, I do.
with
I
a
do
little
think-
word.
I do think, Council, that National Grid is accustomed to getting the butters list in other communities.
Well,
I think
would you
if-
look into it, Richard, for me? I
They're
just,
doing Taunton. And if we can make the butters list available to them themselves, I think we're facilitating it easier for them to do that. Do you agree?
as long as, well, all I'm asking you to do, Richard, is be careful not to make this ordinance so stringent that it puts our citizens in Attleboro behind the 8 ball, and it puts whatever they want done further pushback.
Got it. Any other comments? Jack, thank you.
Well, thank you.
That completes the
Talk to
business
all
that
of
I
you.
have for the Capital Improvement City Development Committee this evening. I look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time. I entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:43. Thank you. Motion's in order. Aye, all say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to call Public Works Committee to order at 7:42 PM. I have 3 items this evening to discuss with you. First is in the docket of October 15th, 2019. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $14,700 from account 112410005783000 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1420100-530101 Public Works Professional Services to complete the state mandated emergency action plans for Farmers Pond Dam and Mechanics Pond Dam.
Second.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So this is a state mandated, we are supposed to have every year an emergency action plan for in case anything bad were to happen to any of our dams, because we don't want to flood the downtown, and that's what it's for. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $8,484.86 from account 6000-578300 Wastewater Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer to account 6000-578020 Wastewater Enterprise Fund bills from previous years to pay for a fiscal year 19 invoice from CDM Smith.
Second.
Thank you. So in our communication from the wastewater treatment plant, CDM never submitted this bill back in the work that was done in April of 2019. So they just caught up with us, and so that's what this bill is for. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding the expending of funds from the Peckham Street Culvert Replacement Grant from the Division of Ecological Restoration for $28,500 to collect field data to replace the culvert in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. This council approves expending of such funds in any future grant amendments.
Second.
Thank you. So I had the pleasure of going out to Peckham Street today and meeting Superintendent Michael Tyler, his assistant Bob Arugio, and the woman from the Division of Ecological Restorations, There's another gentleman there, and I forget where he was from. And then, Lance Hill was there from Paray, is it Paray? I forget how you pronounce it. But anyway, so we all stood in the road and were discussing this culvert, and it's pretty interesting that we, the city of Attleboro, throughout the whole state of Massachusetts, all these culverts, there's tons of culverts that need to be replaced, repaired, and nobody seems to have any money. But they came out and we topped in the 5% to get this culvert fixed, which is great. So all this grant will take care of right now is to collect data, but it's not necessarily to repair it yet. So once they get all the data together, then they let us know what needs to be done, how big it has to be, whether it's going to be a 3-sided box or if it's going to be, preferably they'd like all of the aquatic species to be able to float through and any other animals that they can get through. They want to see the light at the end of the tunnel for them as well. So it's good. It's good for us. So they're going to start working on other grants, looking into them. They discussed quite a few of them that we can apply for as far as when it comes time to replace it. Also want to make sure that it doesn't interfere when it comes time for us, when they're going to be capping the, help me with this one. They're going to cap the landfill. Thank you very much. So we want to make sure nothing runs into each other because, eventually those roads are going to that road's going to get completely done over. So that's it. Any comments, questions?
Good for your ward. That's good for you.
I know, it is another street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That's the business, all the business that I have to see. Oh, no, I want to mention one other thing. So, just so everybody knows, and I'm going to keep mentioning this over and over again, right now Public Works is down 3 dump trucks. 3 dump trucks with plows. So hopefully, they're very concerned about that because you can't just go out and, even if the money was approved right now, they can't just go and buy a truck. They have to order it. It takes a year to get any type of equipment for them. But they're down 3 trucks. They found that they've used all the parts from one truck that's a twin brother to try and repair the twin, and now that one has broken down. So they're hoping that they still get all the same plowers that want to come back this winter. But like they were explaining it to me, say they send 3 trucks down to the end of Briggs Corner, and that they do all of Briggs Corner, those 3 trucks. Well, now we don't have those 3 trucks. So we're short. We're really short-handed on our dump trucks with plows, and they're rotting out. So we got to really start looking at this very seriously because, like I said, it takes them a year to get another truck. They have to order it. So, anyways, that concludes my business for Public Works Committee, and I'm going to ask for an adjournment at 7:48. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We adjourned.
Zoning and Land Use Council for tonight.
I call to order the committee meeting for transportation and traffic at 7:48. I simply have to call for a public hearing. I did have a piece of business referred to my committee with regards to First Street and having First Street mirror Second Street. It was President Cooper's suggestion that we didn't call for a public hearing until I had a conversation with the Traffic Study Commission, and we had that on Thursday. They are fully in support of having First Street mirror the time restrictions. It's from 7 in the morning till noontime, which will restrict like train traffic, individuals who would park in that, in that area to go and take the train. So they were very much in favor of that. So I make a motion to call for a public hearing on November 19th.
Second.
Nope, Conti and Reynolds.
Yeah,
Sorry, we just switched. That was, yes. Thank you, Councilor Conti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we will have a public hearing on November 19th to have that discussion. But as I said, the traffic study has already issued that, and I will forward to you the minutes from that meeting when those are available. And that is all the business I have for Transportation and Traffic Committee tonight. I call for an adjournment at 7:49. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
I would like to call Budget and Appropriations to order at 7:49. I have one motion on the docket from the docket of October 15th, 2019. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. It will be a special meeting for the purpose of setting the tax classification for fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Thank you, Council Corbus. This is just to have this is boilerplate, we do it every year. This is for the public hearing for the setting the tax rate for the next fiscal year. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So I'm actually out of town that week, so, I mean, feel free to proceed, but I won't be around that week.
Okay.
I'll still support this moving forward. The one thing, I had meant to reach out to Julie
Yep.
and request that we try to get the information a little bit ahead of time so that we're prepared with some questions when she arrives. Could you
I'll see if
reach
we
out to
can
her?
do that. I mean, where it's the public hearing, we may have to wait until the public hearing to get that.
Sure.
But I will certainly look at that and let you know.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is where this is her first time doing this presentation, love to encourage her to not necessarily stick with what we've received every year, but potentially look at what we've seen from some other communities. Richard, I don't know if you want to provide.
Sure, well, I just want to be careful we're not overstepping, of course. I mean, it's far from the council to tell a department head what to do. Julie's been around long enough, and I understand everything that you're saying, 100%, but Julie and
It's
I,
the first year. I
Yeah.
thought there'd be some value in sort of looking around and seeing what else is there. And
I'm sure Julie's already has a plan. I know we've been communicating, trying to get some time together where we can meet to review this. But again, this is just for the public hearing. Richard?
First, I want to thank Deb Gould for sending out a first-class memo that outlines the timetable on exactly what we have to do between now and December 31st. Excellent memo. I brought it to Taunton to show to the chairman of the Board of Assessors there that that's the way to do it.
Yep.
Kudos to Deb Gould.
Yeah.
Secondly, when I met with Julie Hobson on the butters list, I showed her a way that maybe if she decides to simplify what Stanley used to do and to be able to make it a little bit more clearer to
Sure.
the
Does
public.
this have to do with the public hearing?
Yes, it does.
For me calling the public hearing?
No, it doesn't. So
I just don't want to go down any rabbit holes at this
I'll
point.
conclude my comments at this point.
I do appreciate that, thank you. So again, this is just a motion to hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, for the purpose of setting that tax classification. Plenty of time between now and then. All right, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I would like to call for an adjournment at 7:52.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We were adjourned at 7:52. Thank you.
I'd like to call License Committee to order at 7:53. I have three motions this evening. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 application for Manuel Amaral of 23 Morris Avenue, Attleboro, for a Tri-Town Auto Sales at 1850 County Street with 4 customer parking spaces and 6 display spaces.
Second.
So, of course, I'm happy that this application is in so early, but he really even has as many cars as he's asking for. I think he does more repairs. So I went down there. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of October 15, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 3 Class 3 application for Manuel Amaral of 23 Morris Avenue, Attleboro, for Tri-Town Auto Sales at 1850 County Street with 4 customer parking spaces and 6 display spaces.
Second.
Anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of October 1st, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the requested signature from the City Council for Norton Parks and Recreation Director Sharon Rice for the October 27, 2019 detour at Route 123 for Norton's annual Halloween parade.
Second.
So they just go through a small portion of Attleboro. Kate's already shaking her head. Does anybody have any questions? It was signed off by the fire chief and the police chief already, so they're all set. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And that's all the business I have. I'd like to call for adjournment at 7:54. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.
I'd like to call the city property and claims committee to order at 7:55. And I have two matters on the docket this evening. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $35,420 from account 112410000-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 112410000-587054 citywide boiler replacement to replace both 20-year-old boilers at City Hall. Thank you. So, okay, I had an opportunity to send several emails to the mayor yesterday, and he replied and got us the information that we had been asking for, and all of you have a copy of it. I think the biggest concern that all of us had at the time is, one, we did not get the estimates for replacement, and we still don't really have those. But my biggest concern is, could it be repaired? Was there a cost savings if we had these boilers repaired? And so the mayor did contact the vendor, and the vendor did get back to him today with the service invoice that said that it would cost close to, I think it was I'm looking for the cost. Yeah, $29,492.17 to repair both boilers. So obviously that does not save us really a tremendous amount of money. So with that said, I would like to move this forward.
Excuse me?
I didn't ask for questions yet.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I tried to take a personal view of those burners. I contacted through our office. John, our janitor, our custodian, wasn't available at the time Friday when I was in. And he did call me at home, and we made arrangements for Monday morning at 7 o'clock, so I wouldn't interfere with his regular duties. And I was hoping to bring some information and my input on what condition they were in, so we could adequately talk about it tonight. And thank you for getting the information, by the way. But John was very helpful. And a short time later, I got a phone call back at home that he was told he couldn't show them to me, and I had no right to look at them. And that comes from the administration. I've sat on this council for 20 years. I know it's a long time, but when stuff comes down from the mayor's office, it comes as a motion, and our president assigns it to a committee for further study and recommendation. I have been here under the Robbins administration and the Dumas administration. I have inspected numerous pieces of equipment and property in the city. I felt on their behalf, and also the people I represent, having somebody physically look at a piece of equipment, whether it be a truck, the water department, the sewer department. When we redid that sewer 20 years ago, excuse me, I was on Public Works, and I was actively involved in it on behalf of Judy Robbins. So I have never been treated that way and with such disrespect as I was Friday. I think, and I still think, that any one of us has the right, especially when it's assigned to a committee we're on, to further study and investigate. Evidently, we need new boilers, but I didn't have the opportunity to look at them. Later in the day, I got a text saying if I asked permission, he'd let me look. Well, I haven't been scolded like that since my mother was alive. So, I'm sorry for that, Sarah. I had hoped to bring you some good information. And I'm sure this is good, don't get me wrong. There's no sense of spending $29,000 on a $35,000 or $40,000 project when you're taking old and trying to make it new. So, I wish we'd have got that information earlier. I wish I'd have been able to look at those boilers and come up here and say the exact same thing on the floor.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna follow that with, it's more than unfortunate the way this has turned out because, you know, the lack of information that we originally received. And that's how it got to this point when, I'm appreciative that we finally did receive it, that I requested it, and we got it today. I think I might have received it on Friday. I was confused about how the information was being transferred, and it wasn't until Monday that I actually requested via email to the mayor if he could possibly get to us in writing what the estimate would be. It was during that time period that I had also heard from Peter and the situation that he became involved in, and I quite frankly think that was unneeded, and it's unfortunate, and it was rude actually. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. I'm glad we're moving forward with this, and I'm thankful that we actually got the service invoice, which is what we had requested all along, that or at least the estimates. So I suggest that we do move it out of committee at this point, unless anybody has further questions or concerns.
Well, I would just like to say that it was working last winter, and then when they serviced it at the end of the season, it remained a priority 2, which is not a priority 1 to be fixed. So it was a little bit like shocking to get, this is an emergency, now we need to address it immediately, and so it did feel a little rushed to me, so I do appreciate getting this information in light of how everything, what the timeline looked like. So thank you.
So I'll go along with that too. I mean, it was right in the capital improvement book as a 2, not something that needed immediate attention, and we did all receive additional invoices from the prior years, and it was clear that in February and March of 2019, right on the invoices, it says that both boilers were in good working condition. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that in 10 months of almost non-use, we are at $29,000 repair, but that is where the SS Service Corp is saying we are with these 2 boilers. And that's it. It's in writing, and that's what I'm going to go with. And because of that, even though they were good last year, less than 10 months ago, we're at this point now. So I suggest that we move it out and we allow for 2 new boilers. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Pete, favor of moving it out?
You have 2 votes.
Okay. That moves forward. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to accept the generous donation of a Yamaha YPG-235-76 portable keyboard with an estimated value of $280 and a Pile PTED-017 pad drum machine with an approximate value of $130 to the Coelho music class from Kyle Harris.
Second.
All those, first of all, are there any questions or concerns about this particular donation? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. And those are the only motions I have this evening for city property and claims, so I would like to call for an adjournment at 8:04.
Second.
Thank you. All those, any concerns, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's the end of our meeting. I would like to call, no. Thank you, adjourn.
Ordinance Election Legislative Matter Committee is canceled this evening. Do you have something for this, or do you have anything?
Public Safety and Emergency Management has no business this evening.
I would like to call the Special Committee on Tax Abatement Review to order at 8:04. Thank you. This is just to call on 3 public hearings. We had received that information, the 3 of us. So I'd entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on November 19th for the 41C senior tax exemption.
Second.
Thank you. The hope is that all three would be, the three of the programs that we discussed would be, we'd have a public hearing on all of them. And individuals can certainly come to speak on each one of them or anything like that. And they're all, I'm hoping to be November 19th.
Okay.
So, any other comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to call for a public hearing on November 19th for the 41A property tax deferral.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. And then I entertain a motion for a public hearing on November 19th for the senior work-off program.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'll call for an adjournment at 8:05.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Exactly, it's a force.